Meet the 2018 Ford Expedition Max 4x4 Platinum. Let's just call her Max for short. Now, little Max here is actually the largest non-commercial vehicle that Ford builds and one of the largest vehicles I've had the privilege of reviewing. And because she's a Platinum model, she's crammed with every bell and whistle at Ford's disposal. So let's hit the road, get a little dirty, and see if bigger is actually better. Ooh, that's nice. Now, what makes Max here a Max is the extra length over what's already a really long, really large SUV. This vehicle is 12 inches longer than the standard Expedition, 9 inches of which are in the wheelbase. That's going to free up a lot of extra space for people and cargo, especially people. There's a lot more space to split between these rows for more legroom. I mean, I fit comfortably back on the third row with plenty of knee space to spare, though if you're taller than my 5'9", you may find headroom to be in short supply. Now, the Max is a little bit bigger, so it has a little bit of a bigger fuel tank, which gives it a slightly longer cruising range, though the fuel economy at 16 city, 21 highway, and around 18 combined, not bad for a vehicle of this size. That's still going to be in line with the standard Expedition's numbers. I've been averaging around 19 for my testing, which is pretty good. Now, that fuel economy comes courtesy of Ford's EcoBoost powertrain. That's a 3.5-liter twin turbocharged V6 engine. Now, I know what you're thinking because I thought it too. A V6 in a vehicle this big, how does that work? Fortunately, it turns out that Ford's engineers know what they're talking about. That engine brings 375 horsepower and an impressive 470 pound-feet of torque to the party. Now, it's going to be mated with a 10-speed automatic transmission, and together they are an awesome pair. Now, I was able to drive this vehicle back-to-back with Chevy Suburban earlier this year, and let me just say that this car feels a lot more composed than the V8 6-speed combination that Chevy's working with. I mean, there's a lot less hunting around for gears when you're climbing hills or towing. It just feels a lot better put together, and it also pulls just a little bit harder because it makes more power than the V8. Now, 4x2 rear-wheel drive is standard, but we've got the optional 4x4 system, and that's going to come with a couple of different drive modes. We've got 2H, which is basically rear-wheel drive again. That's going to be what you want for the highways, where you get the best fuel economy. Now, 4A is what we're in right now. That's basically all-wheel drive. It, again, defaults mostly to the rear wheels, but it can also send power to the front axle if it needs to climb a hill or get through a sticky or slippery situation. There's also a 4L setting, and that's basically going to be your low-speed, high-torque mode. And finally, we have the ability to lock the rear axle for various off-roading purposes. Now, in addition to that, we've also got a couple of different drive modes that you select with this knob. You've got some on-road settings, things like Sport, Eco, and Normal for the highway, but we've also got settings set for off-road. There is a snow setting, there's a sand setting, and right now we're in the grass gravel setting, which is basically good for a dirt road like this. Now, admittedly, we're doing some very light off-roading, basically riding down a trail, but we've been through some pretty hairy situations getting out here that made me grateful that those side steps fold up when the car is moving so that you get the maximum ground clearance. But with the 22-inch wheels and the all-season tires and that front bumper dipping way down low for fuel economy on the highway, this isn't really set up for anything super gnarly. And until Ford makes an Expedition Max Raptor, this is basically just going to be a trail vehicle. Now, Max here is also a Platinum model, which means, like I said, it's loaded up with every bell and whistle in Ford's arsenal. We've got leather trim all over the place, the leather steering wheel, these seats, they're heated and cooled, and they've even got a massage function that I'm taking advantage of right now. We've got all of the tech that Ford has available. There's SportSync in the dashboard. We're going to talk about that in a separate video, but it's basically one of our favorite infotainment systems, and if you don't like what Ford's bringing, there's also standard Android Auto and Apple CarPlay. We've also got Ford's full suite of driver aid technologies, including adaptive cruise control that works in stop-and-go traffic, pedestrian detection with automatic braking, the single lane keep itself, a truck this big with steering assist, imagine that. Heck, it'll even parallel park itself if you let it, though we're not really at a shortage of parking spots out here in the hills. Forget the Suburban. At the Platinum trim level, the Expedition is basically an SUV that nips at the heels of the Lincoln Navigator or Cadillac's Escalade. This is basically a luxury SUV with a Ford badge on the front of it, though to get that luxury, well, you're going to have to pay a pretty hefty price. The 2018 Ford Expedition starts at around $52,000 for the base XLT model, but old Max Platinum here has a $78,500 starting point. Now, there aren't very many options to get because everything's included, but we've got all the options, so we're looking at around an $84,000 vehicle as tested. That's a lot of money, but for that price, you're getting the largest, most luxurious vehicle behind Ford's Blue Oval.